Sup YouTube. This I don't intend to do for very long. I would have rather done this at home, but I was busy working by the time this video was uploaded today, and so I couldn't do this at home. But I brought the laptop with me, and yeah, I'm actually literally making this reaction video because of something I said. It's I don't intend to make any more reactions to this channel unless maybe this one performs well for some reason, but first, I'm going to point out I thought that last week's episode of The Orville was the season finale, but it looks like yesterday that was the final episode of the season, and I started watching it, didn't finish it though. Look at that, there's Isaac. Isaac's been like the star of the show this season for sure, and literally I am super excited about it. Underneath this post, I did also put up a poll, an image poll, so go check out my community tab and make your vote on the community poll. I've realized that there is a choice I failed to add that I should have added, which was Hotel Transylvania 4, because I have gained subscribers from uploading those back in January and some in February. But anyways, here's that comment. I was watching last week's episode of Now in the 90s from ProJared. I know exactly. At the end of his video, he said that next week will be the introduction of a beloved Nintendo character. So I put down, I know exactly which beloved Nintendo character has his debut next week 30 years ago. I enjoy the games that have this character, and I have played a lot of them. 1992 is the year that this character debuted. It's Kirby. Hell yeah. And then I'll close that. I didn't watch the video yet, but like as soon as the video was uploaded, I went to my notifications and then just typed in the comment. So I was one of the earliest comments. I don't know who. I don't know if I doubt I was the first one, but anyways, there weren't any comments loaded in the comment section at the time because I had joined in that quickly. So here it is. I totally called it. Last week when you said a Nintendo icon gets introduced this week for the first time, I knew it was going to be Kirby. It's already got 11 likes. So anyways, I'm going to actually refresh this page to make sure it loads without the pressures of the other tabs. Even though I closed the tabs, I'm just feeling it's just a weird thing. Alright, so I think I'm going to have to address this real quick about ProJared. There was a controversy for ProJared a few years ago, 2019, 2020. I forget which year it was, but he went through a serious controversy because of some alleged sexual misconduct and apparently sexting minors. He laid silent for months to try to organize and plan out what to say in response. He lost a lot of subscribers at that time. Like his subscriber count, I don't know what it was before, but it dropped to like 50,000, which is low for a channel that was as big as him. I mean, I'd love to have 50,000. I only have 2,134 last I checked, which, you know, I guess that's better than most people, but it's not big. Why I say that is because most people you're not aware of, because most people have very few subscribers and very few views on their videos, and a lot of people just don't have that many at all. Anyway, continuing on from there, he eventually explained himself, explained that, yeah, he did do some kind of, I don't know, sexting thing in some kind of chat room online, but it was with consent. The person, the women, and they were women, they weren't little girls, they were actual women that he did these things with. They gave him consent to do so. So I guess that kind of cleared his name because he explained that it wasn't forced. He had consent. I think he actually showed evidence they had consent, and that the allegations that they were underage was wrong, or they didn't tell him, or I don't know. I think it was that they were all of age. I mean, honestly though, he's kind of well known, so it's not really a thing you should do. Like for example, if I did something like that, nobody would make a big deal because people don't really know who I am. and it probably wouldn't even hurt my channel. I wouldn't do that. I'm happily married, but hey, I wouldn't do that. But anyways, yeah, that's so. In case you're not aware of him getting his reputation back, he did. He explained himself clearly, and people flocked back to subscribing to him again and resubscribing to him. During that span, I'm going to make it clear I never unsubscribed to him during that time, but to be fair, I hadn't watched very many of his videos at the time. Now, because of this new series he's doing called Now in the 90s, I've been watching them every week as soon as they come out. And like I said, because of what I said in last week's episode, I was like, you know what? I'm going to do a reaction to this week's episode. I'm not likely to do another one, though. Maybe I will, but I don't know. It depends on if there's demand for it. And I'm also aware that yesterday, Scott the Woz did, in fact, upload a new video. I took a look at it, and the video is over 1 hour long. Now, I'm still confused by it. If you're watching this and you watched that video, is this a re-upload or something? Because he had a video years ago called GameCube Was Best, and now he's talking about the GameCube in a new video. Like, I don't understand what's with that. It says Shaping a Generation, which obviously is a pun because cube shape. But, anyways, if you still want me to make a reaction to it, I'm willing to, but that's going to take some time. Like, I got to prioritize work. I still got script writing to do for my upcoming Johnny Depp film reviews. I'm also still going to make shorts for Johnny Depp content because that's what got me my surge of subscribers over the past couple months of over 220 additional subscribers in a short amount of time for me. So that's still going to be the focus, which is why I'm going to do the reviews. But also, I'm still going to make reaction videos because it's not like the view counts, which are higher on those shorts, are so high that I have to just throw everything out the door and just only focus on that. But yeah, here we go. Sorry I've been talking for so long, but let's get this started. It's actually a shorter video, only 12 minutes, so let's do this. Jared is in the middle of moving, so the audio will be slightly altered. Okay. Moving sucks. Yeah, moving sucks. I've never lived outside of Sonoma County. I've almost always lived in Santa Rosa, but I've lived in other parts of Sonoma County before. I lived in Roanoke Park for a total of 7 months. I lived in an apartment there for 6 months. For 6 months. There was this room I was renting. Stayed there for a month because it was intolerable. What it was like to live there with all those loud people. I lived in Windsor, which is north of Santa Rosa. Roanoke Park is one city south of Santa Rosa. Windsor is one city north of Santa Rosa. I lived there for 4 years, and I lived in Sebastopol, which is west of Santa Rosa. I lived there for about a year and a half, I think, or something like that. Anyway, but I've even within Santa Rosa, I've moved a lot. Like, I've moved to a lot of places in Santa Rosa too. So I've never had to move a long distance like a lot of my family have done, like moving to Idaho and stuff like that. But or Arizona. But yeah, even though it's a short distance, I've never actually really had to move. But moving still sucks. Anyways, damn. I never talk this long. This is terrible. Let's get this. Let's get started for once. Only temporary, so we appreciate your patience.
Welcome to Now in the 90s, cool. Where we look at the game releases.
All right, so just in case you don't know, the music they had Mario play and Mario Paint right there is actually the intro music. Oh my god, look at my perfect pause. It's actually the intro music that they play for these videos. If you go back to past episodes, it's the same intro music, but it just was remade in Mario Paint just right here. But god damn, look at that perfect pause. my wife and I were really good at perfect pauses. She's even better at it, actually. Like, and we don't even do it on purpose. Like, we just happen to pause it. It's always at the right time to see something weird on screen every time. Like we were watching Hey Arnold on Hulu because you know, it was a show we grew up watching in the '90s on Nickelodeon, and yeah, it's still on Hulu, which is great. Don't have to worry about it moving to Paramount Plus. I hope. Oh God, tired of having to pay for more streaming sites than I used to see to see the entertainment I used to already be able to watch. But anyways, yeah, it's still on Hulu last I checked. But we paused on an episode, and there was like Stinky. It was in the classroom with the kids at their desks. Stinky. There was like an animation error that you only notice if you pause at the right time, and we accidentally paused there. And Stinky, like, his body was like his upper body was like away from the desk that he was actually sitting at, so it looked really weird. Like, what the fuck? But yeah. Anyways, let's continue.
Of 30 years ago today. This week, the super tough Pink Puff makes his North American debut, Mario's second Super Nintendo game, and yet another Dungeons & Dragons game. Hi, I'm your host, Jared, and today is August 5th, 1992.
I was 4 years old at the time.
A seemingly unassuming small project for a small console featuring a small guy would grow to be our gargantuan success.
Oh, yes.
Released on August 1st, 1992, was Kirby's Dreamland for the Nintendo Game Boy. Most people know Kirby now for being an adorable round pink guy who has a penchant for consuming enemies like the eldritch horror he truly is. He could then steal their powers to use as his own to battle through stages. However, in his debut game, Kirby's Dreamland, Kirby didn't do that. There were no powers to steal, and he wasn't even pink. Gameplay of Kirby's Dreamland is still familiar to anyone who's ever played any other Kirby game after this one. Go through many levels, sucking in enemies and spitting them back out to defeat others. He could still fly around as much as he wanted to make any kind of platforming a spring breeze. Kirby's Dreamland.
Oh, good pun right there. Okay. So, the original Kirby's Dreamland had only 5 stages, but the fifth. Yeah, it had only 5 stages, and the stage 1 was Green Greens as expected. Poppy Brothers there. Wispy Woods is the final boss of the stage, and then stage 2 was not, was it Float Islands? Or was that what it was called? It was instead Castle of Lo and La. And, yeah, you had a sub-boss of just going against Lo, just kicking blocks forward, and you eat them, spit them back out. Then the final boss of the stage was, you know, Lo and La walking across on those paths or whatever with the blocks, and you have to eat them, spit them back out at them. Then stage 3 was Float Islands, which, you know, I forget what the mid boss was, but the final boss was that big Nebula cannon thing flying in the air, which was finally brought back in Kirby Superstar Ultra on the DS as a boss just before Mount DDD in Revenge of the King, which was a game added to the Ultra version of Kirby Superstar on the DS that wasn't on the original Kirby Superstar on the Super Nintendo. And then stage 4 was Bubbly Clouds with, you know, Kracko Jr. as the mid boss, and then final Kracko, and then full Kracko as the final boss. And then stage 5 actually made you play segments of Green Greens, Castle of Lolo and La, Float Islands, and Bubbly Clouds, just short segments of them, and you'd actually go against the final bosses of each stage over again. And then you would be able to fight King DDD at the end. So, but the Spring Breeze, perfect pun, because in Kirby Superstar, which came out for the Super Nintendo years later, the first game you should choose to play is Spring Breeze, which is based off of Kirby's Dreamland. It has Green Greens. There's no Castle of Lolo and La. Instead, it's Float Islands. Instead of having, and there's a mid boss, which is that ice guy that started out in Kirby's Adventure, I think, in Kirby's Dreamland 2. When you beat him, sometime after you beat him, I forget when, but like, you'll end up on a castle, and you're there for a short amount of time, and then the boss is actually low, and la, like in the Dreamland. So that was how they made sure to shorten it and still put that boss in there. Then third was Bubbly Clouds, and then fourth was Mount DDD, but you didn't have to replay the previous levels. You just go straight to fighting the boss, King DDD. But since it was Kirby Superstar, you actually got abilities instead of not having abilities. So Spring Breeze, perfect pun, because it's an easier remake of Kirby's Dreamland, the original. So I love that pun there. That was an awesome pun he put in there with the Spring Breeze.
And was the very first game worked on by Spring Breeze. Kirby's Dreamland was the very first game worked on by Masahiro Sakurai at only age 19. His idea was to make a very simple, very easy platformer for the Game Boy, as it was meant to be a sort of gateway game for a younger audience to explore other harder platform-style games, which is why the gameplay is so basic and Kirby can literally fly over everything. Kirby wasn't even supposed to be the main character. He was a placeholder sprite that they ended up loving anyways. During development, Kirby was originally named Twinkle Popo, and development studio HAL Laboratories was going to publish it themselves. However, when interest in their title was low, they asked if Nintendo would publish it. Nintendo said, okay, but we're gonna make some changes. One, his name isn't Twinkle Popo. In order to help his international appeal, they asked Nintendo of America what a good American-sounding name would be for the cute little guy. They said, Kirby. Now, legend has it, the reason Nintendo of America gave this name was that they just settled a lawsuit with Universal Studios over the rights of the name Donkey Kong. Nintendo won that lawsuit, and their lawyer's name was John Kirby, which is where they got the name.
It could be.
Allegedly. Kirby's release in the West caused a lot of confusion over his color. Masahiro Sakurai has stated that he always saw Kirby as pink. Japanese advertisements for Kirby's Dreamland even had him as pink. But for Nintendo of America, they only had the Game Boy game to work off of. And that didn't display any colors, so naturally, they thought he was grayscale.
Recently, we compared two superheroes, Dashing Super Guy and Kirby from Nintendo. In some ways, Kirby lost big. No big hair, no big muscles, no weapons, nothing. All Kirby's got is appetite. Kirby's Dreamland, the thrilling new adventure game on Game Boy. Kirby munches, spits back, and floats, saving glorious Dreamland. He's Kirby, and he packs a mean bite. Kirby's Dreamland, only on Game Boy.
By the time they realized their mistake, it was too late. The box art, advertising, and US television commercial.
Why is it so pixelated right now? It says it's in 720p, but it looks like it's in 144 or something.
All have a black and white Kirby. Don't worry though, they would fix this with Kirby's very next game, Kirby's Adventure for the NES, less than a year later. Kirby's Dreamland went down to sell millions for the Game Boy. The aforementioned NES sequel then cemented Kirby's ability to gain powers. He would go on to have numerous sequels, including Kirby's Dreamland 2 on the Game Boy in 1995, Kirby's Dreamland 3 for the Super NES in 1997, Kirby Superstar, Kirby's Dream Course, Kirby Star Stacker, Kirby Tilt and Tumble, Kirby Air Ride. There's like dozens more, with the most recent being Kirby and the Forgotten Land for Nintendo Switch in 2022, with another Kirby game already on the way. As for how Kirby's Dreamland holds up today, I don't like it. It's really hard to go back to and not have Kirby's signature abilities to steal. In fact, as a kid, I played Kirby's Adventure first and then this one, and I was confused why nothing was working when I was swallowing enemies for sword or cutter. It also really is way too easy, but that's exactly what they were going for. If that wasn't a big enough release for you, also released on the
Yes, the original Kirby's Dreamland is an incredibly easy game. That was the point of it. But when you beat the game, it shows King DD being launched out of a Game Boy. Yeah, you see that on the Game Boy screen. And it shows in text like how you can make the game harder. And I think if you just had to like press down and B, and then when you turn the game on, and then it switches it to hard mode. And actually, the hard mode is pretty challenging, actually. So yeah, so they got that, and then yeah, Kirby's Dreamland was the first Kirby game I ever played. The second one was Kirby's Dreamland 2 on the Game Boy, and then the third one was Kirby's Dreamland 3 on the Super Nintendo. I didn't find out about Kirby Superstar until a little later. Love that game. For a long time, Kirby Superstar on the SNES was my favorite Kirby game. But then when Kirby Triple Deluxe came out for the 3DS, that became my favorite Kirby game. And also, to be fair, the Kirby Superstar Ultra remake on DS is better than the original Kirby Superstar because there's more games they added. Obviously, the multiplayer is less accessible because of the requiring multiple systems. But just overall, it's a better game because they just added more to it. Sorry, my eyes were really bothering me. That said, hey, thank goodness I shaved. Look at this. I look way better today. Anyway. What was I gonna say? I was thinking about right there how I started the JonTron reaction that I uploaded like 2 nights ago, I think. Anyways, I'll be continuing in just a moment. What was I gonna say? Kirby's Dream Course for the Super Nintendo is a really awesome game. Like, it's really cool. It's so much more fun than actually playing real golf or mini golf, and you get to use his abilities: fire, needle, stone, tornado, spark. There's also UFO, high jump, and there's others. I just can't think of all of them off the top of my head. Oh yeah, wheel, ice. It's really fun, like a really awesome game, and the 2-player is really fun. I just wish they would release a new Kirby's Dream Course. It's cool that on my Switch I can just do the online and I could play Kirby's Dream Course that way. Not to mention, more recently they released a Kirby's Dream Course special, which actually has everything already unlocked, which includes stuff I didn't even know that was in the game because I guess when I first played it on the Super Nintendo, I didn't medal at every course. I got medals from courses like 1 through 4, I think, and that was it. But yeah, it's really awesome. But Kirby's Dream Course is like the perfect game that should allow you to make custom courses. Like, it wouldn't be that difficult to set up. Like, it would be awesome. Kind of like how, StarCraft, the PC game, the RTS, came out in 1998. You could make custom maps on that. Even though that game came out way back then, and it worked pretty well. There wasn't like a bunch of depth or anything. Like, there's regular level, there's high ground, and there's low ground. And in some maps, there's regular level, there's high ground, there's structures on the high ground, and then there's low ground. Or it's simple, but it works. And I've actually made entire campaigns on StarCraft. Unfortunately, a lot of the maps I've lost over time. The files I've lost over time. But there are some ones I made later on that I think I still have in an external hard drive or something. Actually, I think I might have them right here on this computer. But anyway, Kirby Star Stacker, I enjoyed a lot too. It's easy. It's an easy puzzle game, but it's just a lot of fun. It's just a lot of fun. I liked Kirby's Block Ball. That was fun too. The one spinoff from the 90s that I tried playing and just did not like was Kirby Pinball Land, actually. For whatever reason, when I first played that game, I really did not enjoy it. I don't know why. I just remember when I played it, I was like, hey, I hit Kirby up there. Wait, now he's on a different thing, and then he fell back down, and now he's down on a different thing. And it just seemed really convoluted to me because I was really young at the time, and I didn't like it. But I don't know. I bet if I played it again nowadays, I'd probably have a better understanding and be like, "Oh, okay, it's all right." I don't think I'm gonna love it or anything, but yeah, I love a lot of the Kirby spin-offs and obviously the main series games. It's just such a blast. One thing I think is odd is how undervalued the franchise sometimes seems to be. Kirby's Epic Yarn came out for the Wii in 2010. I actually have some footage of that if you want to check that out, by the way. I have a playlist of it. But then Yoshi's Woolly World came out for the Wii U in, I think, 2015. And then Yoshi's Crafted World came out for the Switch, like 2019? I forget what year it was. But for whatever reason, it kind of feels like people don't seem to appreciate that Kirby did that first before Yoshi did. And it wouldn't even surprise me if Nintendo basically copied that for their Yoshi franchise. Like, oh, both these characters, they eat enemies. Let's, make them arts and crafts style. Anyway. Yeah, there's a lot. Even Nintendo has been inspired by the HAL Laboratory creation of Kirby to make stuff.
Very same day of August 1st, 1992, was Mario Paint for the SNES.
Oh, that's a big one.
It was quiet, except for the cows. Then a rock fell from the sky, so I sat on it. But it was really a spaceship. Then these aliens surrounded me, and I could actually read their minds. Should we fry him or boil him? Whoa, so I pushed a button and made him disintegrate. Okay, so I made it up. Then I made it all happen.
That's cool. I'm sorry, I have a blob at the bottom of my screen, so I don't even know, so I can't see what, did this kid make Earthbound or something? Yeah, right, Earthbound's too amazing for this, although he is a creative kid, but they paid him to be in the ad.
Boil him. Whoa, so I pushed a button and made him disintegrate. Okay, so I made it up. Then I made it all happen.
Mario Paint. Draw and make music. Only on the Super Nintendo Entertainment System.
Mario Paint was one of the first home console creative art video games, where the goal isn't to beat any kind of level, but rather to grab some virtual brushes and let your imagination fly. It was kid picks for the Super Nintendo. Mario Paint could only be played with an all-new accessory bundled in with every copy of the game, the SNES mouse, allowing for precision and more natural painting movements. In addition to making images or coloring pre-made ones, you could also make primitive animations, compose your own music, or take a break with the Nat Attack minigame. Mario Paint was a move by Nintendo that can only be described as ingenious. It showed parents that video games could be more than just brain noise. It could also be a creative outlet, inspiring young minds. It also got people to have the SNES mouse, allowing for future games to take advantage of it. Even with a premium price point bundle, it sold over 2 million copies. Its legacy is still seen to this day in a variety of forms. The music composer spawned an entire subgenre of sorts on the internet, with many people making original songs, or more famously, hundreds of covers of well-known songs using the Mario Paint music composer online. Decades-long running web.
Yeah, one of the classics from Dorkly, when their channel was pretty new over a decade ago, was Mario playing the "This Is How You Remind Me," that song from oh my god, Nickelback, right? And but to make it funnier in the animation from Dorkly, Mario stops playing the song to complain about it and be like, "Come on, you're making me play a Nickelback cover. You should check it out. You should check it out. It's really funny." As soon as you mention all that stuff about the music, actually, every time I see the music, I'm always thinking about that video from Dorkly a decade ago. It's hilarious.
Animation series Homestar Runner. Paint music composer online. Decades-long running web animation series Homestar Runner, home of the Strong Bad Emails cartoons, had its very first episode created using the animation tools in Mario Paint.
Impressive.
Super Mario Maker and Super Mario Maker 2 would also borrow elements from Mario Paint, namely the undo dog, the core spot, and the inclusion of the Nat Attack minigame. As far as official sequels go, there was only ever Mario Artist for the ill-fated Nintendo 64 disk drive, the Japan-only CD-ROM attachment. And it wasn't just one Mario Artist game, it was 3. Mario Artist Paint Studio, Mario Artist Polygon Studio, and Mario Artist Talent Studio. There are even 4 more Mario Artist entries planned but those were cancelled with the failure of the 64DD. As far as the SNES Mario Paint goes, I still love it. Admittedly, as a kid, I did play the Nat Attack minigame a lot, and I was too young to know how to make any kind of music, but I would spend entire afternoons just creating my own masterpieces. And then seeing all the fun ways to obliterate them all with the numerous delete all buttons.
Yeah.
If you've been keeping track, you know that there's already been 2 Dungeons & Dragons video games released this year. And now, we have the third.
Jeez.
Dungeons & Dragons Warriors of the Eternal Sun, released for the Sega Genesis on July 31st, 1992. This D&D game mixes overhead exploration and first-person dungeon crawling. Like most other D&D games of the time, you can create your entire party from scratch, choosing from a handful of playable classes and races. When you see enemies on the overworld, battle switches to a turn-based strategy, very similar to previous D&D games like Pool of Radiance. However, if you're in a dungeon, combat plays out in real time, playing more akin to the Eye of the Beholder series of games. Between all of this is your typical D&D fare, getting new equipment, leveling up, and saving the land from the big bad evil guy. All of this while playing to some surprisingly jammin' music.
Yeah.
It still uses the AD&D 2.0 rule set, which means classes level up at different speeds, magic spells are rare, and if you don't already know what THAC0 is, read a wiki article explaining it. Warriors of the Eternal Sun was developed by Westwood Associates, who would later become part of Westwood Studios. Meaning, this development team was not part of the SSI Gold Box games like Pool of Radiance, but they were the developers to the previous D&D game on this show, Dragon Strike on the NES. And they would eventually be known for creating a franchise called Command & Conquer. Fun fact, Warriors of the Eternal Sun takes place in the D&D setting of Mystara, placing it alongside only a handful of other D&D video games in.
I kind of like this map. That top left continent has, it's not exact, but it has sort of a North America look, just a lot smaller. Or maybe a lot bigger, I don't know, it depends on perspective. That bottom continent, I guess is, I mean, it doesn't look like any continent on Earth, but I guess it's a little more like Asia because of how big it is, or maybe Eurasia, you know, Europe and Asia maybe. And that top right continent, not exactly, but you could sort of almost say it looks like a skinny South America if you angle it a certain way. Kind of like that. They made their own thing, but kind of had some real-world inspirations.
That setting, namely Order of the Griffin for the TurboGrafx-16 and Dungeons & Dragons setting, Mystara.
Sorry.
Fun fact, Warriors of the Eternal Sun takes place in the D&D setting of Mystara, placing it alongside only a handful of other D&D video games in that setting, namely Order of the Griffin for the TurboGrafx-16 and Dungeons & Dragons Tower of Doom and Shadows over Mystara, the iconic beat-em-ups from Capcom. Reviews at the time were self-admittedly biased. Electronic Gaming Magazine gave it some 7s, but also had 2 scores of 4, with those reviewers basically saying they don't like RPGs. As for what I think of it, that's a pretty well done D&D game. The overhead movement reminded me of the later Ultima games, and I still like first-person dungeon crawling, but be forewarned, this game is hard as balls. I spent like 50 minutes making my entire party, perfecting them to be as best as possible, and I then walked outside the castle walls and watched every single one of them get absolutely obliterated by 5 snakes. And they weren't even sticks before that. And as for the other games released this week, take it away, Editor Dylan.
Okay.
The only other game released this week was Neotopia 2.
Looks like
hey, who spelled their Zelda all over my TurboGrafx-16?
Yeah.
Hudson. Oh, Hudson. Okay.
That means this week I counted a total of 4 games released, 1 for each system listed here. Kirby's Dreamland would go on to be the 9th best-selling game for the Game Boy. Back to you, Jared.
Back in the collector's corner, even after selling millions, Kirby still has some decent value, with just under $25 for the cartridge alone, and just under $100 with the box and the manual. Mario Paint, on the other hand, is dirt cheap at less than $10 for just the game. However, having it complete with the SNES mouse, that weird plastic mouse pad thing, and the oversized box makes it worth closer to $100. Warriors of the Eternal Sun didn't really see much value increase. You can find the game alone for about 25 bucks, and even a complete one is a meager $45. And that's it for today. Next week, a groundbreaking cinematic platformer, Might and Magic, and a weird-ass puzzler. I'm your host, Jared, and this was Now in the 90s.
Oh, is that a bee? No.
Thank you so much for watching Now in the 90s. Please like the video and subscribe if you aren't already, and leave a comment down below. And if you already are a subscriber, thank you so much for watching this show. Did anyone else play a lot of Mario Paint as a kid? My favorite thing to do was to paint the entire thing brown and then erase pathways and caverns so I could have a little underground living habitat for a family of Yoshis.
Stupid bee, get away from my computer. This is horrible. How am I supposed to continue when a bee is flying around my computer? I'm right by the freaking Rincon Valley Library in Santa Rosa, and there's no flowers. Like, oh my god, Jesus. I think he liked my orange shorts, thought it was a big-ass flower or something. My god, it's going up. Oh, no wonder there's some sunflowers right by me. I didn't realize that. I mean, actually, no, of course I realized that. I knew they were there. I just didn't realize that was going to cause a problem, I guess. Oh, my goodness. That was terrifying. That was... Oh, my God. I'm sorry. I really do have a fear of bees. I've been stung by them one too many times, honestly. I try really hard to avoid them. It's kind of like how my wife is scared of spiders, although there's more of a deep reason for that. But, oh my god, that fucking bee is back. Go away. Please. Why do you want my computer? You have no use for it, you dumb bee. Jeez. I want to be able to finish my video. Just go to the sunflower and leave. Oh, now the bee's going over there. From what I remember, there's a woman on a laptop there. Now she has to deal with it. That stupid bee is a menace. It's pestering us humans, which sucks because, you know, the other thing that sucks about bees is that we need them in order to survive. I mean, if there's one thing the Bee Movie got right is how much we need them. For whatever reason, I like the Bee Movie. I can't really figure out what it is I like about it compared to what other people, how everybody hates it, but I think I thought the court case was funny, and then, you know, the results of the bees winning their court case was an interesting plot line. But yeah, anyways, it sucks that we need bees to survive, because, oh, kill off the bees, there goes all life on Earth, because they pretty much maintain it. And yet, bees die so easily. That's just not fair. It's not right, you know? Anyways, what do you think about this new ProJared video? What do you think about the Now in the 90s series, if you've watched any of the other episodes, or what your first impression is from watching me react to this? I think maybe those sunflowers are triggering my allergies, too. Anyway, sure gave me a lot to say. This should have been a much shorter reaction, but you know what? I really enjoyed watching this a lot. It was a lot of fun. When it comes to Kirby, I'm pretty much almost always going to have a lot to say. In the original Super Smash Bros. On N64, Kirby he wasn't always my main, but he's kind of become my main for that game. And I know Kirby really sucked in Melee, but, you know, I would still play him sometimes. He wasn't my main. My main was Marth in that game. And I also liked the Link and Fox. And in Brawl, Kirby was better than he was in Melee. I played him a lot. I played him a lot in Smash 4, and I do play him a lot in Ultimate as well. Since Brawl, Sonic has been my main in Super Smash Bros. Though. For some reason, he just clicked for me. That said, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for getting all the way to this point. No editing will be involved, so yeah. Hope you enjoyed me being in total fear of that 1B. Yeah. Ooh, that was nerve-wracking to go through. Anyway, what do you think about this episode of Now in the 90s by ProJared? I personally liked it a lot. I also liked that, I mean, I was totally right in making a prediction on his video, you know. Oh yeah, let's give this video a like. I already commented on it. Do I need to comment again? I never played Mario Paint, admittedly. But in fact, I don't think I even knew about Mario Paint at the time, which is really odd because I grew up in the 90s and somehow didn't know about it. There was an art game on the Sega Genesis, I remember. I didn't play it, but I watched somebody else, you know, mess around with it. It was one that came out a little later, and it had, I guess it had a Sega mouse included or something. Then years later, I got a different art game that came out for the Sega Genesis that predates Mario Paint that I had some fun with as well. But most of the time in the 90s, when it came to doing any kind of painting or artwork, I used MS Paint on my computer. Just MS Paint. That's what I typically used. I don't do much drawing on anymore. I mean, I did used to also have doodle pads where I just draw on there, and I used to draw like intricate video game levels. Like, I was just so into video games that at the time, I wanted to grow up to become a video game designer, make the levels and, you know, program and what everything does. But unfortunately, I haven't gotten to that career. I did study some coding. I studied Python, but I never finished the classes. It's just hard to have the time when I have a busy work schedule, have other responsibilities going on, and I gotta, you know, make rent every month and pay my car note every day. Well, not every day. Pay my car note every month. God, if I paid my car note every day, I'd be broke as shit. Like, how would that be possible? Anyways, speaking of cars, if you are able to find a line of work where you are not required to drive a car, I recommend it. Because, yes, having a car gives you a lot more job opportunities, and it's a lot more, because some jobs require you to actually drive. But if you can find something that pays you well enough that doesn't require you to drive, do it. You know, that's why it would be nice to have a work from home. But too many work from home jobs that both my wife and I have looked up on Indeed and Snag a Job and Monster and other places, and Jobs to Careers and stuff like that. They seem to always require, oh, you need to have this educational experience, or you need to have, you know, a bachelor's degree, or you need to have experience in this field already. It's like, you know, fuck you guys. Like, allow us to have the opportunity to have the experience by allowing us to try to see if we're good enough for the job, you dickwads. Sometimes, in some cases, it's better to give somebody a chance who has no experience with it because they haven't developed any negative habits from their past experience doing it until it's a fresh start. But yeah, strictness, bullshit, whatever. I actually did stream that new Kirby and the Forgotten Land the day it came out. Haven't streamed it again because hardly anybody watched, really, so I didn't see much a point to continuing with that. It also didn't help that Josh Scorcher, known as Fiery Joker, was also streaming at the same day. Like, I knew because of that there was no way people were going to watch my stream, and I was correct. Only people who were like who are friends and family watched it, and it was like 3 people. I was like, ugh. So that sucked. But that said, I do intend to do one last stream of Kirby and the Forgotten Land. It would be shorter than the previous one because all I'll be doing is finishing World 1, and then after that, I'm just going to be like, nope, not going to stream the game anymore and just play it on my own. Because I just don't see a point of streaming a game if nobody watches. when I could just play the game on my own time when the Switch is in portable mode, and when there's slowdown at work, I can play the game on my own. I mean, if Nintendo would make it easier to live stream from a Switch in portable mode, maybe I'd do it more. But no, it's not impossible. You have to have it docked to do so, and you have to get equipment and use programs and stuff. It's not built into the Switch, unlike the PS4 and the Xbox One that have the streaming apps built in. Anyways, check out that poll I mentioned at the beginning of this video. It's an image poll. I did forget to put an option in there, so that sucks, but feel free to cast your votes on that. And also, knowing that that Season 3 of the Orville New Horizons coming to an end, I intend to upload a review of Season 3 to talk about it, and hopefully you guys will stay tuned. Will tune in and watch. That said, thank you so much.